That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
These are the sorts of things that we should talk about right in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Started giving people free quotes. Isn't sunshine and rainbows, and isn't, everyone sees you doing so well.
For just being a solo
The
operator.
change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
Greg, I love talking about business.
So do I. And yes, I love talking about business, running a successful business.
So when I start talking about business on the podcast, I like to push people out of their comfort zone. I like to ask them, so how much do you need to make? And we mentioned this briefly earlier on. I'd give you a disclaimer first. You can tell me you're not going to answer any financial questions. No harm. But
I'm happy to talk about anything.
But I talk about it, and people listening, if they're thinking about starting a business or they're early in their business, this helps them to not need to come and ask you, what should I charge for this?
I agree. Look, there's no reason why I wouldn't talk about it. It's all above board. It's all, I don't think people realise how much you really need to make to run a profitable, successful business.
Let's talk about it. So the numbers I refer to all the time is hourly rate, daily rate, weekly rate, monthly rate, annual rate. Okay, so keep in mind we're talking a maintenance business where you are excluding major purchases of materials. So once you start major purchases of materials or specific equipment for a job, your cost ratios are going to change. But in a traditional lawn care and garden maintenance business, one of the rules that I've seen, James Nankervis, you'd know that name, he talked about the one-third rule. So 1/3 towards wages, 1/3 towards expenses, 1/3 towards profit. That's a great gauge for going, okay, that's how much I should be aiming to charge. But bring it back to an hourly rate, and hourly rate varies so much because what you do and what I do are completely different types of work. But a day rate is a great equalizer. So if I say to you, hey, if I'm doing less than $600 a day, I'm a little bit worried and nervous that I'm not actually real profitable. That's going to resonate with a lot of people. But some people are going to say, I do $800 a day. Some people say, I do $1,000 a day. Some people will say, I do $1,500 or $2,000 in a day. And we're talking about a single person out there lawn mowing and gardening. So there's huge variables there still. But it starts to equalize out when you talk about a day rate, and it equalizes out even more when you go, okay, well, how much can I do in a week? So the next stage is monthly and annual turnovers. So one of the numbers I like to tell people is if your annual turnover is less than $80,000 a year in today's world, we're in 2024 in the middle, right, almost at the end of the financial year, less than $80,000 turnover for the year is probably going to mean you're barely getting by.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And when you say that to people, or people look at you like you got two heads. They go, "Oh well, I can survive on 50,000 turnover," and I think, well, I don't know what you're doing to do that, because with all of my insurances, my equipment, my registrations, the list goes on. You got to be doing on the other side of 80 grand a year.
Yeah. So then somebody's going to say, but I do 4 days a week. And I'm like, okay, so divide 80 by 5 and then work out that's how much per day per week you need, right? So you can then go, well, if you're doing a 4-day week instead of a 5-day week, then you might go, okay, $60,000 a year or whatever you math to do something comparable, because we need to balance people that are doing different things. If you're working part-time, you're not going to earn the same much as somebody who's working full-time. Or you might be, like me, you go, okay, $80,000 a year is not enough. And $120,000 a year would be the bare minimum that probably somebody in Sydney needs to be turning over to be viable. And I say...
I agree. Look, guys, I think a lot of people who comment as well they say that they're only making 50 grand and it's okay. I think they're in the fortunate position that they might have a wife that makes great money to offset what they're making. But for someone like me, like I'm the main breadwinner of the house. My wife works as well, but mate, I got to make over. I have to make over turnover 100 grand.
Yep. Yeah.
And and I don't have a Lamborghini parked out the front. That's just me paying my insurances and my fuel bills and my registrations, and I live a comfortable life.
Now, I'm going to poke a hole in your argument here, right? Because you're driving a Holden, which probably means you need more money because you got more repairs than somebody
I
driving
got a
a
Colorado. I've got a couple of cars actually. I'm a car man, and I've got a couple of bikes as well. I'm disappointed that you haven't asked me about my bikes, Gary.
You did mention earlier that you used to keep fit by riding a push bike, so I was scared to ask.
Well, yeah. Well, look, you should see me in Lycra. It is a sight to behold. Believe me. So
I'm pretty sure that when you've had one of your 3 beers deep videos on a Saturday night, I'm pretty sure that I saw a picture of you in Lycra there once.
And didn't I look the treat as well? Didn't I? I was going all right back in them days, baby.
Oh, no comment. No comment.
But yeah, so we can talk about bikes and cars later on. But yeah, I got a Colorado. So my work vehicle is the Colorado. It's been a great car actually. It pulls my big trailer. I got a huge dual axle trailer, mate. I've been very fortunate that it's been very good to me.
That's good. Yeah, I'm driving a Hilux, and when people are asking me, I'm saying, okay, if you're working full time instead of doing it for beer money, and I know you'll get tickled by thinking about doing it for beer money, but working full time, right? We need to pay for more than beer, and
you've got to be doing better than breaking even. You know, you've got to be doing better than if you can't run. I always bang on about running a sustainable business. Sustainable business is a business that you can pay all of your expenses. You're fully insured, and you're making a profit, like putting raw profit in your bank.
Yeah,
that's a sustainable business.
Now, I'm different to you, right? So when I say that I aim for $150,000 turnover per person that's working, and I've got an employee working with me, but I aim for $150,000 plus per person that's working. That's the annual turnover.
Yep.
Right? My expense ratio is different to yours. And if we're talking about your friend Paul Luck, and hopefully he's my friend too, I'm going to try and get him in the dungeon yet, so I'll make him my friend one way or another.
Yeah. Get him in.
But Paul Luck runs a really narrow margin. He
got no expenses, and that's why he does so well. He runs a very tight business he runs with a mower, blower, and a whipper.
And so if you're listening, Paul Luck, if you're doing $80,000 in a year and you're working full time, you're probably quite all right. And I don't think he even works full time, right? He's part time.
Mate, I think he only works 3 hours a day, and that's he works 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. But he's got it sorted out. He's in a very tight area, and he does very well. He does very well. He runs a very tight business.
Yeah. So talk about numbers more. If you're doing a job and you're going, okay, I don't want to quote an hourly rate for the customer, but they're probably going to look at how long I'm there anyway. So we'll just ignore that for now. If you're doing a job and you're going, okay, I think I need to charge $100 for this hedge, you're weighing up in your head going, okay, I need to be able to cover my expenses, my insurance and my fuel and my fancy Holden, and need to be able to buy a new hedge trimmer every now and then.
And my 3-inch exhaust and all that sort of stuff.
Gee, 3 inches, is that all?
Well, that's all I got.
I hear guys talking about they're very humble 4 inches, and I'm like, okay, go on.
My God. But yeah, look, mate. When I'm quoting a job, in my head, I'm thinking $120 an hour.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what I got to make. That's what I got. All of my work that I currently do. No, look, not all my work. My major so I've got one massive contract that
Yeah.
I have, which is more than half of my work.
Yeah.
That's at $95 an hour.
Interesting you say that, right? Because I'm the same. Now, I'm not the same, but if I'm going to quote a residential job, yeah, I need to be up over $100 an hour, and 120 is a fairly good ballpark to aim for today.
Yeah,
Tomorrow it might be 130. I know Luke Smith talks about aiming for $153.45. I'm making that up, but you get the point, right?
Yeah.
It's Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars. Do you want to leave your job to create a profitable and enjoyable lawn and garden business? Aussie Lawn Stars shares the stories, lessons, and advice to help you grow a healthy, productive, efficient, and sustainable business. Do you want more, or simply have a question about what you heard? Contact Aussie Lawn Stars at iCloud.com, or look me up, Gary Ashton, on Facebook and Messenger for individual help. Business coaching helps you to have the right mindset and perspective when it comes to daily decision making, planning, or knowing what to look for to improve your business. thinktankcoaching.com.au has helped me, and they can help you move towards your business goals. Visit their website or email them thinktankcoaching@outlook.com. If you want to establish the best practices in bookkeeping, accounting, and business structure, contact Adrian from Prosper Financial on 0249 773363. And you all need to head to Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia and the Australian Professional Lawn Contractors Facebook groups for supportive communities focused on our industry. It's higher.
Yeah.
If you're working in one place for a whole day, you can turn over the same amount of money as somebody who's charging a higher rate, but they've got a lot of lost time traveling in between jobs and having lunch breaks, all those sorts of things. Because you in one job,
like when I do this commercial, mate, I sort of drive there in the morning and I spend 6 hours there, and then I go home again. There's no driving around in the middle. Plus, I do a lot of job management there. So they'll ask me they'll say, look, we want this area landscaped, and I'll subcontract out the work to do that. So I might only be on $95 an hour, but I'll go and make a phone call and I'll make $1,000 on this phone call that I've just organised for these guys. They quote through me, and then I'll easy minimum put $500 on it to if not 1,000. So it's quite profitable. But residential work for me, I'm in my head now. I quote per job these days. I'm very fortunate that 98% of my work is reoccurring work. So I don't do a lot of quoting. It's just return work.
But for somebody who's starting out, who's going, okay, I want to do jobs in Kellyville North and I want to be doing jobs that take 20 minutes per job, they've got to work this out. How long are those jobs going to take? They've got to work out how much do I need to make per job so that I know how much I need to make per day. And if you're doing 20-minute jobs compared to doing 1-hour jobs, it makes a difference as to how much you need to charge per job.
Yeah. For me, just to pull up outside someone's house and do 5 minutes worth of work to cut down a branch is $85.
Yeah. Well, 4 years ago, my minimum was 70 plus GST.
Yeah.
70 plus GST minimum to turn up.
Yeah. Look, but at the same time, I'll also spend half an hour there doing some work as well. But just for me to pull up in your driveway is $85.
Yeah.
Plus GST. So it's
the reality is
more than that. I'm going to quote you the job. I'm going to then I'm going to quote on the job.
the reality is those are the types of jobs you're doing, right? Where you know that you need a minimum of that price to make it worth turning up. Somebody else who's doing 5 jobs in an hour, it's going to be different.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. Who can do 5 jobs in an hour except for Paul Luck?
I've done it before, right? So
I totally don't doubt, like we joke about Paul, but Paul, mate, he's shown me before that he does it. He just goes, he's working these little postage stamp jobs, and then he can throw a stone at the next job he's got to go to, and he just, he sort of rips through.
when you do a strata, and I don't know if you've got stratas, but when you do a
I
strata,
do, I
you
do,
might
I
have
do.
20 units in one place, right? But
Yeah.
you're not doing 20 jobs, you're doing one job.
Yeah.
I've had that where the individuals that lived in the units all contracted me to do their 5-minute jobs.
Oh, wow.
So it's like I turn up, I do 5 jobs, and then one hour later, I'm gone again.
Wow. I actually find, just getting off a bit, strata to be the bottom of the barrel in commercial work. I find, strata for me is, I would rather work for one large company
Yeah.
and only answer to one person. Strata, when you get into strata, there's 20 people in this complex and they all think that you're their servant, or they just leave their shit around because they think that I'm going to pick it up, and I certainly have my moments with strata work.
Yeah. So when you start going, all right, I want to work for one big contract instead of these multiple little places, and stratas are multiple little places, right? There's still, for some people, they're the cream. But
Oh no, absolutely. Oh, please, don't get me wrong.
no,
It is. I would rather do 10 stratas than push mow 10 lawns. Don't worry about that.
but when you start chasing a lot of stratas and you start chasing a lot of larger commercial jobs where you're in one place for all day or for hours at an end, you're up against massive big companies that can quote a
Yeah,
much
it's,
tighter
what?
price.
People ask me all the time, how do you get into commercial work? And you probably know yourself, Gary, it's a lot of good luck to get the good jobs. All of my good work that I got is through other contractors, through, just through them not wanting to do the job no more, and they've passed it on to me. Jobs you got to tender for or compete with are generally, the sort of lowest price wins, if you know what I mean. Like my largest job that I got that through another contractor that just didn't want to do the job no more. And I've been very fortunate that job's doubled, if not tripled, to
Well,
its.
to give people a bit of an idea on this, the average person working solo or with one employee, which is a lot of people in your group, a lot of people in LMCA, and a lot of people listening to this, they're going to be aiming for 20 to 30% profit margin if they are on the ball with their numbers.
Yes.
Right? If you're competing for a large job where you go, all right, I'm taking myself and maybe one employee to a large commercial contract where you got to put a tender in, what you're competing against is a company that's going, all right, we know what our expenses are. We've got our expenses down to a really fine art, and we're going to whack 5% on that. So you're competing your 30% profit with their 5% or 3%.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's very hard. Like I've heard stories of these large landscaping companies doing work for $30 an hour, but they've got 500 employees, and they're going in and saying, "Oh yeah, we can do this for $30 an hour."
So the reason why you and I are competitive against them is not because of price, it's because of attention to detail, because they go,
Absolutely, mate. People. I always say you've got to stand out from the crowd to be successful. You've got to want people chasing you for you. And I'm people want me to do their jobs because of me, certainly not because of my price. They want me.
The chances are, if they know you're an individual and that you're going to be on site, then there's a trust factor that you're getting paid to deliver good quality. Whereas if they go with one of the large landscaping companies, they have
they
any
turn up and then they just blow like smokes for the first half an hour and eat McDonald's, and then they walk around and kick some stones for the next hour, and they only do a half-assed job. Like, how many times do you hear bad stories about these other companies? And I'm not saying bad about anybody, because there's always good and bad. But if it's not your business and you're just an employee, you just want to get in and out, man. There's no attention to detail. You're just doing what you got to do.
That's right.
And that's what makes us look good, because we go in and we're going to do a great job every time.
Yeah. So you can make a good profit margin if you put a lot of pride into attention to detail, if you put a lot of pride into delivering the quality that these people are looking for. And
quality, mate. You've got to find the customer. You've got to find the client that wants quality. There's a lot of clients that want cheap. There's a hell of a lot of that. You've got to find the customer that wants quality, and that's where you're going to make your money. I drive, so I'm in Blacktown, right?
Yeah.
I drive 45 minutes to an hour every day just to get to my working area, because there's no money in Blacktown. There's no one's going to pay me what I want.
Yep.
In Blacktown, I most of my residential work is in Cherrybrook, in a very leafy suburb in the other side of, Castle Hill. Lot of work out there, man. A lot of work, and a lot of people with money. I work for doctors. I work for lawyers. I work for people who own their own businesses. I work for people with money.
Well, I know where I need to go when I want a burger then. I'll give you a buzz and I'll say, I'm heading to Cherrybrook for lunch, Greg. Where are you?
I'll be around there somewhere, mate. Cherrybrook has been very good for me, very good. And again, I stumbled into that, through the business that I bought 6 years ago.
Yeah.
We had one cul-de-sac in Cherrybrook, and I still got that cul-de-sac today.
Yeah.
I got 8 customers in one cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so...
Look, I think we've given people some really good insight and some things to think about with the financial stuff. Let's take a 5-second break and let's talk equipment.
Okay.
Okay. Unless you had anything else you wanted to throw in that session.
Oh, no, look, I just always say that, you're only worth what someone's prepared to pay you. So I try to go where the money is,
Yes.
I think you're always going to struggle in low economical areas to get what to get what you want. It's
and that's incredibly valuable advice, because if you do work in those lower areas and, be humble about it and go, you're still serving somebody, you're still doing something valuable, but you're not going to expect to compete with somebody who's working with the upper echelon.
That's right. No one in Blacktown's paying me $120 an hour to do their hedge, because there's other people, contractors, and I say this, there's no malice or talking bad about anyone, but there are guys in this area doing it for $80. There's guys doing it for $50.
There's guys in Blacktown doing it for favours.
Absolutely, they're doing it for beer money, and that's okay.
Well, I was thinking of other favours, but yeah, there's that too.
I've never been offered. That. So
I don't know why, Greg. I don't know why. When you turn up in your leotard, they don't offer it.
That's obvious that I'm very good looking. So I don't know why I've never been offered that. But I don't know what I'm doing wrong or right. But look, I've always had the business model of working where the money is.
Yeah.
And so far it's worked for me.
Yep.
I could work 5 minutes from home, but I don't think I'd be earning the money I am now.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.